Hi, and welcome to the first episode of the Fantasy Fastbreak. I'm your host, Erik Ong, and joining me today is a friend of mine. His name is Marco Aventejado. Um, Welcome, Marco. This is
Hey,
both. How are you doing?
pretty good, pretty good.
All right, this is our first episode for the Fantasy Fast Break. It's something I've always wanted to do. For those of you who are readers and viewers of the HoopBall channel and the HoopBall website, know me as one of the editors over there, and I've been on the writing side of things, doing blurbs, writing articles, and all of that. But I've always wanted to do a podcast, and I guess so did Marco. He's a friend of mine from grade school. He reached out, "Hey, you want to do a podcast?" I go, "Yeah, sure, let's do it." I mean, it's now or never. I mean, you always miss all the shots that you don't take, right? So
Yeah, might as
here
well
we
try.
here we are, and the concept of the show here is we wanted to put together um, a fantasy basketball show that's fits in 24 minutes or less, which is basically half a basketball game. We didn't want to come up with a podcast that was too long or um, filled with too many other things that take away from the content that you're actually after. I understand that there are a lot of fantasy managers out there who just want key information, guys who, to pick up, guys to trade for, guys to drop, all of those things. And, we're going to put all of that together in 24 minutes or less. So, um, to start with, for those who don't know me, I'm Erik Ong. I'm a Filipino fantasy basketball writer, editor, and analyst, working for HoopBall.com. And I started playing fantasy basketball in 2003. Started blogging about it in 2006. Um, I was part of the team. I started my old personal blog on WordPress on that year. A year after, I joined a blog called Give Me the Rock. Some of you older folks might be familiar with that. And from there, I jumped and from site to site doing other um, pieces of article writing here and there, and eventually, after playing against the great Aaron Brewski in the 30 deep CBS league where all the experts go, I eventually stumbled on hoopball and asked to join the team, and the rest is history, as they say. For those of you who don't know my friend Marco, I'll let him introduce himself and tell you a little bit about his fantasy basketball history.
Well, I started a little bit earlier than you because I moved to the States in 88 and I started playing fantasy basketball in 89. It was when we were drafting Larry Bird and Magic Johnson. And we used to do the stats by hand every week with USA Today. So that was fun. I'm
That
glad
was
that,
old school.
yeah, we were just a few years right after the rotisserie group started. So, you know, I've been doing this for a while and I wrote a couple of articles for local magazines and newspapers here in Manila anytime I'm in Manila for summer vacation. And then I moved back in 99 and I started a league. You're part of it. So life is good, especially during basketball season.
All right. Um, I'm not too familiar with all of the leagues that you participate in. Marco and I, by the way, listeners and viewers, are play in this format that's quite unique. It's a seven category format where we don't count the shooting percentages. It was formed that way, I believe, as the story goes, told to me by Marco, that back in the day, as they were doing this by hand, percentages were not printed, I believe, in USA Today at that time, and that's why you started with those seven categories, right, Marco? Is that how the story goes?
Well, no, it's really a preference, but it's less work to do it seven categories instead of nine categories, especially when you're a high schooler that doesn't, I mean, we didn't know that Excel existed because that would have definitely helped us out on a weekly basis.
Our age is showing. Our age is showing. But that's okay. That's okay. So that just makes us veterans. I mean, hey, no one's ever gonna call LeBron old this season, regardless of how old he actually is, considering what he's doing in fantasy basketball. You've got Carmelo Anthony, who just went bonkers tonight.
Mhm.
We're recording this Sunday night, October 31st, right after the old Los Angeles Lakers team and Carmelo Anthony, dropped 23 points, two steals, four blocks, and five threes. As if he was like a 20-year-old, right? I
Yeah,
mean,
where was he?
he
Where was that when he was with the Knicks?
or the Nuggets for that matter. I mean, those kinds of defensive stats weren't even around because back in the day he was somebody I actually disliked. Just to share with the viewers, I found him to be a vanilla scorer mostly back then. I mean, he'd give you some rebounds, maybe six boards, something like
Hmm.
that, the high 25 points.
Hmm.
The threes weren't even at the high volume. But
Nope.
now, in seemingly the twilight of his career, um, Carmelo Anthony has found a renewed purpose. And I guess that's to win a championship with the Los Angeles Lakers.
Yeah.
For those of you who don't know, Marco here is a Knicks fan.
Yep.
And, what are your thoughts on your Knicks this season?
They're unbelievable. I bought the NBA League Pass just for the Knicks this season, which is like a first in a while. And I like what I see because they're moving the ball more, better than last year, and they actually have finishers. Fournier is awesome with the 3-point shot. Don't let him drive. Like you gotta guard him close because he misses more layups than 3-pointers. And then Kemba Walker, wow, he found his mojo in the third game, and it's been going on. It's crazy. But of course, RJ Barrett's taking more of a leadership role. So it's very nice. Everyone's saying, they can't keep it up, but that's what they were saying last year.
Doubters, doubters. Yeah. So you
Yeah.
think that your Knicks are going to make the playoffs then? That's You think you guys
Yeah. The
you're going to avoid the play-in and go straight to the playoffs, qualify, and be in the magical top of the Eastern Conference. Considering the East is still pretty competitive. I mean, you have the defending champs, Milwaukee Bucks over there, and the Sixers were still quite dangerous despite the eternal absence of Ben Simmons. You think your Knicks can handle teams like those?
we beat Philadelphia already.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Which
So
was pretty good.
external factors really help the team out. Two major players in the East not playing. Thank you very much. Hopefully you don't play the whole season. We'll catch you during the playoffs. Play then, but we'll make the playoffs also with you. We're not. We know there's 8 spots. We don't have to be one. We don't have to be two. We're happy with 4 and 5. But last year was glad to be here territory, and this year I think there'll be a hunger to do better than what happened last year. It wasn't nice how they were treating Trey Young because that kind of behavior towards a rival player is only reserved for Reggie Miller. But it's nice, but there's a Hall of Fame of people that we New York Knicks fans hate.
All
So
right, all right.
yeah, Trey Young's young. I mean, he's doing his thing. There's no problems with that. But the way that the Knicks fans were reacting is like he's
I
Reggie
mean,
Miller. He's
they
not
they
yet.
were.
He's not yet there.
I felt they were a bit sore. I think it was all in good competitive spirit. I think
Yes,
I
yes.
mean, as guys who play fantasy basketball, we're no strangers to trash talking and whatever, right? I mean, when I'm in my Facebook group chats of the leagues I'm in, almost every day that there's a game, somebody's throwing out a GIF or some meme about their player whenever they play well or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, speaking of fantasy basketball, you just talked about guys who have been helping the Knicks. Let's get on to our fantasy basketball content, and both you and I are gonna tell the our viewers players who have helped our fantasy teams so far. It's only been 2 weeks. We actually decided, excuse me, to start the show on the second week because after the first week, it's just 2 or 3 games per team, and there really wasn't much to talk about. Now that
Yeah.
the teams are starting to settle in, players are settling in. I mean, guys like James Harden, who started off so ice cold, is now finally coming through with back-to-back solid games, stuff like that. So um, I'll start with you, Marco. Who's helped your
hmm
fantasy team so far?
one of the players that really helped me so far is Jamorant because I drafted him in the third round. I was in a 12 team and had the 12 pick, so it's like back to backs both ends, and I got Jamorant in the third round, fourth round with Christian Wood, but third round value, and he's looking like an MVP candidate early on, early on,
Oh,
early
early,
on.
early.
Caveat, early on,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
it's I'm enjoying the ride. And another person is Tyler Hero because
He's
it's
been a
it
hero for your
yeah,
team.
surprising. Not all heroes wear capes,
Yep, yep.
Yeah, but especially in that stacked team, he's getting his minutes from the bench and doing the most of it. With that, I'm happy, very happy. I traded for him in another league. So happy.
Well, that's very good. Do you think your guys are going to keep it up, or maybe not keep this particular level of play? But do you think that they're going to be players who will be impact players as far as your team winning your matchups from week to week?
Well, with these two people, they're in two different. They have two different characteristics because one is Jamorant, who's emerging to be as Memphis team leader, so he has to step up every game, right? And then you have Tyler Heroes coming off the bench, getting 24, 25 minutes and doing the most of it. But it's worth it to check whether or not uh, his impact when Oladipo comes back, because he's another guy that does similar things with Hero, who's going to get relegated to the bench when he comes back from this injury.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
we shall see.
We
I'm
shall
ha-
see. Yeah,
I'm
actually,
liking the ride so far. So
oh well, yeah, yeah, yeah. Congratulations
thank you,
on
thank
those
you.
guys. And
Who do you
Jamorant
have?
is Jamorant was somebody who I unfortunately didn't get in any of my leagues. I missed the boat on that guy. He was just awful, awful last season. His stats set issues were just too much for me to deal with in nine cat, and I actually um was laughing at guys picking him in like the fourth or third round of drafts and whatever. But it's all right because late in drafts, I was able to get a fellow Grizzly of his, a
Mm.
teammate of his, a fellow Grizzly, and that's DeAnthony Melton. Melton
Mm.
has been crazy fantastic so far.
Crazy.
Crazy.
Yeah.
The truth of the matter is, Melton has been a long time darling of the people who read for us here at HoopBall, and everyone who's read HoopBall, our blurbs, our articles, and even a lot of our podcasts. We're total nuts about the Anthony Melton because we were fans of his per minute production way
Mm.
back, up to two seasons ago. But right now, he's finally playing at the level, given the usage, given the minutes, he's finally delivering crazy, well rounded lines, shooting threes, stealing the ball, blocking shots, you name it, he's doing it. Now, he's been a big impact player for my team, but I must admit, I'm a bit worried that, he will lose some minutes, some usage when, Dylan Brooks eventually comes back. But I think both he and Desmond Bain will,
Mm-hmm.
co-absorb some of that damage done by Dylan Brooks when he arrives. But yeah, as of now, like you said, and same with you, I'm enjoying the Melton ride.
Yeah.
Um, On that point, let's jump on to the next topic, actually. And, you know, we're 2 weeks in. A lot of people have been making, drastic moves, ads, drops, um, based on a low sample size of games. People panic too easily or get too excited um, too easily. Whether, whatever it is, it's either fear or greed that's driving them to making these moves. And um, what I've been telling people over at HoopBall whenever I'm writing something, you know, guys, you gotta sit back, take time, and figure out who's really playing well, who's gonna get playing time, who's gonna be taking, getting the most usage, taking the most shots, down the line. What are I guess I use this a lot and try to understand the context of why a player is playing so and so way, whether it's good or bad. Um, I guess now we got to talk about guys who are playing well, but you and I don't think are going to keep it up. And we're going to recommend them as somebody who our viewers can sell high on after
Mm.
some early production. Um, in this case, I think I'll start. All right.
Mm-hmm.
I will go with Al Horford.
Mm.
Al Horford is playing at a crazy top 10 level right now based on early games. Why? His fantasy value in 9cat is being dragged up by his massive games where he blocked so many shots. As of now,
Mm.
he's averaging a crazy 3.9 or something ridiculous. Folks, that's not sustainable. As good as Al Horford is, and mind you, I own Horford in 2 leagues, 2 out of my 9 leagues this season. And I'm,
Nine.
yes, yes, I'm in 9 leagues this season.
Yeah.
I finally brought it down to below 10 after 8 years of promising that I'll cut down. I finally cut down this year. But yeah, going back to Al Horford, I don't think those blocks are sustainable. It's not something that he's going to be able to continue with, at that rate for the rest of the season. And when those hard to get stats like blocks go down, the fantasy value of that player will go down. But
Mm.
mind you, I'm still high on Horford as a whole, considering I got him outside of the top 100. He's playing like this right now, so it's perfect. It's a perfect storm for you to sell high on Horford. Maybe you can get a top 40 player for him, given how he's playing, or a top 50 player. Flip him for that because the guy's thinking that I'm getting a top 5, top 7 value, but no, that value is going to go down when his blocks finally go down um, as the season progresses. Um,
I fear they're gonna have some DNP rest put
of
in the
course,
mix.
given how old Al Horford is, he's
Seasoned
going to have
veteran.
seasoned veteran. Yes,
Yeah.
the nice politically correct way to talk about the. So I guess we're seasoned veterans of fantasy basketball, and that's
Yeah, seasoned
that.
with salt and pepper. Can't you see in the hair?
Yeah, 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 guys. How about you, Marco, dude? Who's your sell high guy?
Harrison Barnes. My God. He was probably my second to last pick in two drafts and total eye opener. Thank you very much, Harrison Barnes. But I sorry, but I have to trade you now. He's coming off an unbelievable stretch of games, and he's averaging 25 points, 10 rebounds, and his usage rates 25.48. His PER, it's so crazy. And the good thing is he's not turning the ball over. Plus, he's getting 3 pointers. It's a mixed bag, but the mixed bag that you will like. But
Yeah.
that looks nice. But Sacramento's committed to a youth movement, which he is not a part of. So I'm
It's just that he's
sorry.
been their consistent scorer early on, right? So, and you think that somebody, let's say like the Aaron Fox, is gonna take more leadership role and assert himself like he did
Eventually.
in the second
Hmm.
half of the
Last year.
season.
Yeah.
Yes, and viewers, I just like to say and remind you that Harrison Barnes also got off to a hot start last season and eventually went on an ugly slump for it was like 3 or 4 weeks that he couldn't find the basket. He couldn't buy a bucket for so long,
Yeah.
and yeah, he'll eventually regress. That's for sure. So on
But
the flip,
his free throw percentages are higher though this year, and his
well, yeah,
three
I'm
point
pretty
shots.
sure that that's something that will probably stay. But I think
Mm,
that the high volume scoring at that field goal is going to see some regression at some point.
yeah.
Okay, so
The
moving
rebounds are
on.
high also.
Oh well, yeah. Okay, now moving on. Since we promised people that we're going to keep this within 24 minutes,
Yes.
we're going to jump to the other side of the coin. We first talked about sell high. Now let's talk about guys that we consider as buy low targets. Players who are probably not playing as well as they should be or are expected to be playing, but we think are gonna bounce back or gonna be able to wake up and play at the level that was worthy of their ADP, but they're not just living up to it right now.
Yeah.
You go first, Marco.
Well, definitely, it was a good sign that Caris LeVert played his first game this season last week. That's a good sign. But one game and then it was a rest after, so you can still buy him low, and I would because he's to me my mantra always is good player in a bad team.
And the
So
Pacers are bad this year, aren't they? They're kind of awful actually. They're not
yeah, I
they're not
mean,
doing well.
yeah,
Um, and you think Karis LeVert is somebody who's going to be able to shine and be that go-to
definite,
guy down the road?
defi- definitely because Brogdon's also injured. Malcolm
Yeah,
Brogdon's injured, so but the main beneficiary is Holiday, so he's back to his bench position once Levert's back on the floor starting, which not a bad backcourt.
that's for sure. That's for sure.
Yeah, I would
Oh,
definitely buy low at this point.
okay. And for me, somebody that I recommend, and a lot of people have been discussing him on Twitter and in group chats and in our Discord server over at HoopBall. He's a buzz name right now, and one of our favorites is Michael Porter Jr. Speaking of somebody who can't simply buy a bucket to start the season, guys, he was shooting at crazy above 50% from the field last season at 20 points per game, hitting
Mhm.
two threes per game. And, I think he's just off to a cold start. And it just might be a matter of him needing some time, needing a few games under his belt to warm up. He's definitely a buy low candidate because, he's currently clocking in outside of the top 100, but his ADP was definitely somewhere within the top 20. You know,
Hmm.
he's somebody who can return top 20 value, and even if you sacrifice, let's say, a top 75 guy to get access to the stat set that Michael Porter Jr. is eventually going to give you, you're probably going to get something like a top 40, top 30 value once he's established his firm floor.
Yeah,
Okay, that's it. And like we promised everyone, we're gonna keep this show short and sweet. Within 20, we exceeded a bit. We're something like close to 24 minutes, maybe going over for a minute or two. Um, thank you very much, everyone, for enjoying our first episode. Underneath our names, Eric and Marco, those are our Twitter handles, and feel free to hit us up if you have any questions regarding the content that you heard here on the show tonight. And I'm looking forward to doing this again. It felt good. It felt fun. Thank you for joining me, Marco. And I'm
let's run
looking.
it. Let's run it back next week.
We'll probably be doing this again, folks, because we simply had a blast.
Yes, we
Thank you
did.
very much. All right.
Thank you so much,
Bye.
guys. See ya.